Welcome to the Full Strength Father podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Corper, and founder of Full Strength Father. And today is episode 13. In episode 12, I talked a little bit about the term triple threat and how that relates to fatherhood. And I brought up three specific traits that are essential in us being a triple threat father and fulfilling our purpose of leading, providing, and protecting. So I talked about mentality in episode 12. The other two traits are spirituality and physicality. And in today's episode, I want to touch on the trait of physicality in fatherhood. So, what is physicality in fatherhood? I've identified quite a few elements of physicality, and I'm going to list them here for you. And as I do, think about how any of these apply to your role as a father, because as I read them, I can definitely see the connection. Okay, cognition, or the ability to focus and think. Coordination, endurance, strength, balance, speed, power, agility, presence, flexibility, body composition. Which one of those stuck out to you? Which one of those do you feel would be most valuable to improve? Which one are you doing really well in? Or are all of them things you want to improve? The fact is that physicality is directly connected to our ability to fulfill our purpose of leading, providing, and protecting. And I was joking with one of my buddies the other day as we were talking about this, but speed is one that I definitely have to keep developing, because with a 2-year-old, little Viking boy that runs around like crazy, sometimes he runs in the direction of danger. And it's very important for me at this point in my life to be able to sprint after him and catch him before he, for example, runs into the street. It's really working on that. Just a side note, it's kind of funny. I was thinking to myself, how can I teach him that stop means stop? Like, if I say stop, you've got to stop. And so I started gamifying it and turning it into a game of freeze. So we'll play this game around the house where I'll be chasing him and then I'll say freeze. And he has to stop as quickly as possible and just freeze. So hopefully that game turns into this thing where if I yell freeze, if he's running into danger, that he will automatically stop because he connects to the game rather than me coming down on him really hard. I don't think he really understands it. So anyways, I'm working on that, but speed, definitely something very important. Now, I really am attracted to cognition, which is the first one that I mentioned, first element of physicality, or the ability to focus, because I feel like that ability and having that sharp definitely impacts everything else, specifically my relationships with my family, and then also in my career, and also in my physical fitness, spirituality. All of those kind of things are affected by our ability to have clear, precise thought and to be able to do that as much as possible throughout the day. So really powerful. So what I want to talk about today are three key practices that I discovered in that challenging experience that I went through, which I mentioned in the earlier episodes. And these are hard-earned principles or practices or frameworks, whatever you want to call them. I've earned them and learned them through a lot of trial and error and a lot of life experience, and also relying on the experiences and knowledge of other people. So very, very simple, very direct. And I'm going to talk about these three key practices that deal specifically with physicality in fatherhood. So that list of things that I mentioned, and there are more, but specifically with that list and how we can be more physical and how we can improve our physicality as fathers. So here are the three key practices. You ready? It's the 3 M's: mission, movement, and meals. Mission, movement, meals. These frameworks, if I implement them on a daily basis, everything else falls into place. So let's talk about mission. Mission is what defines our purpose and our reason for existence, and it gives us a sense of direction and influences all of our actions. I made a little chart for a presentation that I'm going to give that has the word mission and then an arrow to the right, and then in the middle, action, and then another arrow, and then result. So mission, action, result. Now, when I failed in the past, I jumped straight into action and seek the result. And while that may be a really great way to initiate momentum, I think one of the key elements in us having sustainability, long-term sticking power in what we're pursuing, is to make sure that our mission is extremely clear and meaningful to us. So think about physicality and fatherhood, those things that I mentioned: cognition, coordination, endurance, strength, balance, power, agility, presence, flexibility, body composition. So think about all those different elements of physicality in fatherhood. And imagine for a second if you were coaching yourself. What would you say is the most important mission for you right now when it comes to your physicality as a father? Is it strength or flexibility or body composition, which would be the loss of fat or the gaining of muscle, or just optimizing that in general? I think, think about that. If you were your own coach, what would you say right now you need to address above all else? Is it to lose weight, to get stronger, improve your conditioning level, whatever it might be? Maybe it's to build a more resilient, focused mind, that element of physicality. And if you're driving or busy or walking while you're listening to this, make a mental note on what that is. Now, if you have the ability to take a note on your phone or to write this down on a piece of paper, write that down, right? My mission is to blank so that I can blank. My mission is to do this so that I can do this. So the next question I have for you is, why is that your mission? Let's say losing weight. Is it to look good on the beach, at the pool, be confident? Yes, those are great. But there is a deeper layer to that. And then you can probably go another layer deep. Always ask yourself why, but ask yourself it multiple times when attached to your mission. For me, as I described in earlier episodes, one of the descriptions that I used in expressing how I was feeling was I couldn't look at myself in the mirror with my shirt off and be confident. I was frustrated with how I looked. And so the surface level why to losing body fat would be so that I was confident when I looked in the mirror and confident in front of other people with my shirt off, right? But deeper than that, if I go another layer deep, it would be that I want to have confidence in my relationship with my wife and my boys, that I'm living to my full potential from a fitness standpoint, that I can walk in confidence in that, and that I can set that example for them and lead them in that. And then even deeper, it would be loving myself and being excited about the gift that I have as with my physical body and really maximizing that gift. So there's always a way that we can go deeper and deeper into that why, and that's vital. Okay, so here's a quote. Memorize this. Sear this into your brain. When the why is big enough, the how becomes automatic. When the why is big enough, the how becomes automatic. So here's a thought experiment. Think of the mission that you just noted in your mind or you wrote down. Let's say it's lose 30 pounds. That is the mission that you as your own coach would recommend you do right now, because that's going to have a cascade effect in all other areas of your life, your physicality. What would happen if you went in the exact opposite direction of that mission for the rest of your life? What would your life look like? How would you feel? Picture every single negative thing that could happen if you went in the opposite direction of the mission that you just thought of. So, if you are 30 pounds overweight and you continue on the path of gaining a few pounds a year or more, In 10 years, you may be 30 pounds heavier. So you might be 60 pounds overweight or 80 pounds overweight. You may be getting advanced in years at that time. You may have a higher likelihood of, joint issues or heart issues or diabetes or all these other things. If you have young children right now and 10 years down the road, they're going to be teenagers, what's your relationship going to be like with them then? Yeah, you can have a good relationship, but will you be able to go run and play with them or adventure with them or do all of the things that you would love to do? What would your relationship with your wife look like if you continue on that path? The answer is it's very, very striking when I do that with myself. And I find that I'm almost more motivated by picturing the negative outcomes of not changing than if I picture all the positive things will happen when I change. There's an interesting podcast, I'll have to link it in the show notes, about this very subject by Huberman, the Huberman Lab podcast, where he talks about goal setting and accomplishment. And negative visualization can be an extremely powerful tool. So as you've thought about all of that negative potential, if you don't change, I want you to think about how that in and of itself defines the importance of the mission that you just noted. Okay, so that is the importance of your mission. So how can we make that mission an actual reality? Who we are, what our life looks like. It's simply through action, through consistent, disciplined action. So I'm going to talk about a simple tactic to make this automatic. Remember the 3 M's that I talked about? Mission, movement, and meals. The simple tactic I'm going to show you is what I call a 3-minute drill. Very, very simple. Take 3 minutes every evening. Review what your mission is, specifically with Physicality. So what is your mission? If you've written it down or noted it, you would review that. Just look over it, connect to it. And then simply write down 1 to 3 key actions that you will take the next day to move in the direction of your mission. And then once you've written those down, actually put them into your calendar. When will you do those things? So, for example, if my goal were to lose 30 pounds, that mission were to lose 30 pounds, I would write one of the things. I'm going to take a walk after lunch and a walk after dinner to get my step count up. So that action item would be walking, hit my step goal, and then I would schedule that directly into my schedule. And the other might be have resistance training session. I'm going to get up at 6. I'm going to hit that session from 6:30 to 7. Great, right? So it's actually in the calendar, okay? Then in the morning when you wake up, just take 3 minutes, review your mission again and the actions that you have planned, and then go forth and execute them. And then repeat that process. So the key point in that simple tactic is that what we're doing is we're remembering our mission every single day. And this reminds us of why we're doing what we're doing. When the why is big enough, the how becomes automatic. If your family's life were on the line and you needed to lose 30 pounds in 3 months, could you do it? You'd find a way. 100% you'd find a way. So when the why is big enough, the how becomes automatic. So that's mission. Okay, the 3-minute drill. Let's talk about movement. Movement is the universal language of personal freedom. There are 3 priorities of movement that I've defined in fatherhood in connection with this key framework, okay? The first or foundation is daily activity level. The second level would be total body resistance training. And the third level would be specialization. So in your mind, I want you to visualize a pyramid, and it's divided into 3 sections. The bottom section, or the widest section of the pyramid, would be daily activity level. The middle section, or a little bit more narrow, would be total body resistance training. And the very pinnacle of the pyramid would be specialization. So let's talk about the foundation of that pyramid, the 3 priorities of movement and fatherhood. It is daily activity level, specifically 3 miles a day, which is about 7,500 steps. The average American gets about 3,000 to 4,000 steps a day. So why would we do 3 miles? Well, that number 7,500 is very attainable. If we're averaging 3,000 to 4,000 steps a day, to get to 7,500 is literally just a couple 10-minute walks after a meal or a 20-minute walking. And I'll talk a little bit more about how to get to 7,500, but essentially it's just a little bit beyond what the average American is doing. But there's been research around that amount of steps that shows that there's a significantly lower risk of cardiovascular disease, lower body fat percentage or BMI, lower risk of chronic diseases, improved mental health and focus, and increased energy and fitness, all from just hitting that elevated level of activity. And the key here is that daily activity, just general activity, is really the foundation for burning body fat and having optimal body composition. So the answer is not to go do a bunch of HIIT, quote unquote, training or super high intensity stuff. It's to elevate the foundation of your daily activity. So let's talk about it. How can you build in more steps if you don't hit 7,500? Or if you do hit 7,500, getting to 10K or beyond can be extremely beneficial. So the first thing I'm going to recommend is a post-meal walk, 8 to 10 minutes. Just after you eat, go on a short walk, brisk walk. This is going to help with a lot of really cool things, insulin sensitivity, digestion, etc. It's going to really help you work through that food, and it's a great mental break. It's awesome. Park further away from your office, or when you shop or do whatever, just park further away. Get into a habit of that. You're going to add a lot of steps. Stand-up desk, walking meetings or calls, walking or playing with your dog. Here's a novel one: playing, walking, hiking with the kids, or going on a walk with your wife, or a little mini jog or run, or just walk at any point in the day. Those are some really simple things that you can just build in to increase your base movement. Okay. Raise the floor. That's the concept. We just raise that floor of that foundation of daily activity level and get awesome results from it. So think about what you've learned so far. Okay, we've covered mission. We are in the middle of covering movement. What are some things that you can note down that you can go apply? So now let's talk about total body resistance training. Why would we do total body training sessions? Well, there's 3 key things that I think, at least in my experience, that total body training sessions have done for me, that sort of structure. Saving time, saving energy, and creating balance in my physique. So total body training sessions, 45 minutes to 60 minutes, 3 times a week. I'm not going into the gym 4, 5, 6 times a week. I'm going 3 times a week. I could even do them at home if I needed to. Energy. I'm not so toasted, so destroyed from a heavy lower body day that I can't function the next day or the day after that. Previously, when I was training 6 days a week, 5 days a week, 4 days a week, I'd find that it would take me a good couple days before I felt fresh. And by that time, I was hitting another session. Now I was getting real strong, and you can get great results from more frequency and higher intensity in your training. But within the context of physicality and fatherhood, I found that I wasn't feeling as fresh as I wanted to on a daily basis. So it affected playing with my boys. It affected my energy level at work occasionally. I was training a little bit. I was just training out of context, right? So our training sessions ideally should fuel our energy and give us a boost into the day and help us express all of those traits of physicality that I listed earlier, rather than detract from our ability to do that. Okay, and then balanced physique, meaning, anterior or posterior, front and back, side to side, balanced in every way. Concept that I love to think about when it comes to training is minimum effective dose. And another one is low mileage, high performance. So we are trying to get the minimum dose to yield the maximum result with the least amount of mileage on our bodies. And this is how we stay active for a very long time. And we die quick. We don't want to die slow. Yeah, that's a key point. We don't want to die slow. We want to die fast. You want to be active until you're 85 or 90 or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden die. You don't want to have to drag out death for months or years or decades. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about when it comes to total body resistance training is that we utilize movement patterns in our approach to training. So rather than thinking about isolated muscles, we think about movement patterns. So that may be a departure from what you see in bodybuilding and fitness competitors and those kind of that realm is very body part focused because their careers depend on their body parts having symmetry and developing certain weak areas and those kind of things. What we want to do is strengthen the movement patterns that we use in fatherhood. Okay. And if you want to have bigger biceps, that's great. You can work on that. But what I'm saying is that the core of those total body training sessions should be movement pattern based. So squatting, lunging, hinging, pushing, pulling, walking or locomotion, and carrying. So we should have elements of those movement patterns in our training. So squatting and lunging, there's so many different movements we could list: back squat, goblet squat, reverse lunge with a barbell, split squat with a barbell, dumbbells, etc., step ups, all that kind of stuff. That's squatting and lunging. Hinging, we're talking about deadlifts or RDLs or even kettlebell swings. Those are the forms of hinging and all the varieties. Pushing, push-ups, bench press, overhead press, landmine press, dumbbell press, etc., etc. We are pushing the object or ourselves away from something. Pulling, pull-ups, rows, lat pull-downs, single arm rows, barbell rows, inverted rows, all sorts of variations of rows where we are pulling something towards us. And then walking and carrying, this would be farmer's walks, yoke carries, sandbag carries, all sorts of things. That's going to help us carry groceries, children, and our wives when needed. So how do you structure this? Let me give you an example session. I know I'm going a little bit deeper into the movement stuff today, but I just want to show you how easy it is to kind of structure this out if you don't have a lot of equipment, don't have access to all the cool toys that some gyms have. Well, let's talk about, and also you may be short on time. So here's a very, very simple way to structure or format a total body session with movement patterns. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to do 2 total rounds of the following. And your intent in each of these rounds or periods of time is to get as many quality repetitions as possible. So what you'll do is you'll go 3 minutes of work and then 45 seconds of rest. So first you'll do a squat or a lunge for 3 minutes. Now, doing 3 minutes of continuous squatting with a load is extremely challenging. Body weight squats, you may be able to sustain high quality reps for 3 minutes. But if you add a dumbbell in the mix or a kettlebell or a barbell, what you might have to do is maybe I get 15 repetitions and then my quality is starting to suffer. So I rack the barbell or put the dumbbell down and rest about 15, 20, 30 seconds and I go back to it. But my goal is to just try to get as many quality reps as possible in that 3 minutes. And then when that 3 minutes is up, I put the dumbbell down or I stop squatting. I put the barbell up, rack it. And then I've got 45 seconds to breathe, note my reps. And then I go to a pull pattern. So this could be an inverted row or a single arm dumbbell row or a barbell row. And I'm going to do the same thing for 3 minutes. Rest 45 seconds, catch my breath, notate my reps. Hinge movement could be swings, could be RDLs, could be deadlifts, or like a hip thrust or something like that for 3 minutes, and then rest 45 seconds, and then do 3 minutes of a push pattern, and then rest 45 seconds and repeat. So round 1, right? I can have this series of movements where I track my reps, and then round 2, I could try to match my reps from the first round. If I'm truly going max quality reps, though, it might be really, really hard to match my reps from the first round. You could also, in round 1, do certain selected movements, and then round 2, add different movements for those patterns. So I could go from a goblet squat to a reverse lunge, alternating each side from round 1 to round 2. I could go from an inverted row to a lat pull down or a banded pull down or a pull up or a chin up in round 2. I could go from an RDL in round 1 to a hip thrust in round 2. Same thing goes with push. Could be a bench press and then could be a push up or something like that. That whole session will take you 30 minutes. You will get quality volume and you will work those main movement patterns. If you wanted to add some carries or sprint work prior or after, you could totally do that. And you're looking at a 45-minute session. So just a really just simple way to structure something. And I hope that adds some value to you when it comes to giving you an idea of how you could structure that. I've written a progression system around total body training that is phenomenal. And if you check out fullstrengthfather.com, you'll see a field manual I've published that has all of that laid out in it. And I'll keep iterating on that and growing that progression system and detailing it as I go. So next on that pyramid is specialization. So things can get really complicated when you start talking about specialization, but essentially this is pursuing a specific adaptation or change based on, a singular goal that you have. For example, well, simple. If you want to grow your biceps and they're lagging, the total body resistance training sessions, you'll hit your biceps, but you may want to add in some more bicep volume throughout the week to grow the bis. Same thing with calves. We don't want to have small calves. Not at all. We want to grow those babies. And most dads have naturally gifted calves. I think maybe it's part of dadhood, but be that as it may, you may need to add in calf volume on those other days or on that same day you're doing the total body resistance training. So that's a simple way of specialization, is if you want some aesthetics, you can do that. I'm a little bit more interested personally in, other traits of physicality, not just how you look, but say endurance or speed or power. The 3 times a week creates space for other sessions if you want it, day of or in between. So I'd like to work on speed a little bit. Monday, I did a total body resistance training session. Tuesday, I went to the football stadium, got nice and warmed up, and just ran some sprints. Yeah, I'm fine. A little bit sore from the sprints, but not bad. And then Wednesday, I'm doing my total body training session. And then Thursday, I might do a little bit more agility work. See how that works? So if I want to dunk a basketball, or if I want to be able to go play flag football or frisbee or whatever, I can mix in some sprints. Maybe I want to work on endurance. So Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, I hit some longer steady state endurance work. So just keep that in mind. That's what specialization looks like. But I'd love the 3 times a week total body resistance training for that fact that it opens up space for other things. So we just want to keep it simple. Like, that's the key. Squat, lunge, hinge, press, pull, carry, run, sprint, at least 3 times a week until you die. Simple. So now let's talk about the third M, the third framework, which would be meals. Have you ever, well, here's a question. How many diets have you tried? Think about it. Can you list off more than one? The average person will try 126 diets in their lifetime. And 90% of people who lose a significant amount of weight will gain it back at some point. Have you ever done that? I know I have lost weight and gained it back personally, even though I'm in the industry and I have, I have certifications and knowledge and those kind of things. It's just, it's a part of this process that we go through in life. And the question is, like, how can we get rid of that swing up and down, and how can we be really, really consistent long term? It is difficult when you look at all of the diets out there and all the options and all of the choices. It's almost like we have an overload of information. We've got Atkins, we've got the Warrior Diet, Zone, 4-Hour Body, Grapefruit, OMAD, if it fits your macros, Raw Food, Whole30, Keto, Slim Fast, Weight Watchers, the Liver King Diet, where you eat raw liver. It's just craziness. So let's kind of cut through all that real quick. I'm going to give you a starting place. Okay, I want you to remember this. 3 by, or 3x, 33, 33, 33. 3x, 33, 33, 33. What do I mean by that? Very easy to remember. It's a bunch of threes. It's 3 meals a day at a balanced blend of 33% protein, carbs, and fats. This is just a phenomenal starting point. Now, if you're wondering, well, how do I do that? What does that even mean? I'm going to give you a couple steps that you can take right now to go figure it out. Depending on what your goal is, let's say it's maintenance, gaining or losing, just go online and look up calorie calculator or total body energy expenditure calculator, and you'll find some great free resources where you can plug in your age, your activity level, your goal, and it will give you calories. And so then from there, you can use a calorie calculating app. I recommend My Macros, and you can literally go input the calories that you found on that calculator. So let's say it's 3,200 calories. So in My Macros, you can hit create goal, 3,200 calories, and then you can divide up your percentage of protein, carbs, and fats 33% across the board. Now, obviously, it's 33.33333, but you get the idea. So you can then track your food and track your weight and track your results over time, and you can adjust from there. Okay. It's important to understand in context of this brief conversation here that adjustment and individualization are very important in this process. But most guys, if they can just get consistent in 3 meals a day and have balanced, good quality food, they will start to see great changes in their physique and their body composition. So 3 by 33, 33, 33. The app that I recommended is My Macros, and you can find what your calories should be based on those free calculators online. Here's a hack when it comes to this. Input your meals into the app the day before. So you don't have to think about what you're going to eat that day, and you're not just tracking throughout the day. You can actually preload what you're going to eat so it hits those numbers perfectly, and just do that over time. So you'll hopefully that's a good starting point for you from a tracking standpoint. 3 meals a day, 33% of proteins, fats, and carbs. So I'm going to simplify it even more if you don't want to do the app or tracking like that. So you're going to use your palm to measure protein sources. You're going to use your cupped hand to measure your carbohydrates. And you're going to use your thumb to measure your fat sources. And so for each meal, if you want a balanced approach, you're going to do 2 palms of protein, 2 cupped hands of carbs, 2 thumbs of fat sources. And if you want to add veggies, which would be good, 1 to 3 fists of vegetables. So let's review. 2 palms of protein, 2 cupped hands of carbohydrates, 2 thumbs of fat sources. So what that might look like, just from like a meal standpoint, is that you've got a chicken breast, maybe 1.5 chicken breasts. So a decent amount of protein on that plate. And then a cupped hand of carbs might be 3/4 of a cup of rice. So you put 2 of those on your plate. And then you've got some avocado. And you could probably do about half an avocado for your fat source. And so you've got chicken, rice, avocado, some sea salt on there, maybe a tiny bit of sauce, and that's a delicious meal with the grilled chicken and the white rice and the avocado. And then maybe on the side you have a small salad with some really, really light dressing or whatever, or you have some steamed broccoli or something like that. And you do that 3 times a day. You're going to get in great shape. You're going to feel really good. Here are some really, really key golden nuggets when it comes to this whole thing. Okay, so I just gave you how to kind of go about tracking your calories with an app, and I also gave you hand portions. So now putting that all in place, like here, I'm going to give you some really, really basic, just killer pieces of information that are going to help you actually execute on that. So the first is to focus on high quality food sources, real food. So we want to get whole food, real food, high quality sources. Secondly, learn how to vary your seasonings and your preparation methods. So if I have a chicken breast, I've gotten really good, not to toot my own horn, but I've gotten really good at cooking chicken, and I can do it however I want. The reason I got so good was because I got so frustrated with how bad I was at cooking chicken. So I learned how to do it. Did you know that you could go to YouTube and learn from some of the top chefs on the planet? Yes. We can learn for free how to cook chicken breast in a ton of different ways, whether it's barbecue, smoking it, grilling it, sauteing it, air fryer, you name it. You can take that one piece of whole foods protein and you can divide it, the prep methods, into, it's probably literally hundreds, if not thousands of different variations of how you could prepare that. So you shouldn't ever get bored. The only reason you suck at cooking chicken is because you don't care enough about how to learn to cook it really good. I would rather eat my own cooking than go out to the restaurant and buy somebody else's chicken breast. And that's cool because that's a lot cheaper and it's a lot more sustainable. And a byproduct of that is you can teach your kids how to cook too. Now, I don't know how your family's organized or anything like that, or if your wife does all your cooking, but like, come on. As a man, you should be able to cook for yourself. I believe that. And the women love it when you can cook. It's an awesome skill set to have. Okay, but I digress. Next, cook your protein and carb sources in bulk. Once a week, twice a week, however you want to do it, just make sure you cook them in bulk so you're not just cooking every day, and you can actually, save time throughout the week, compress time. So what this might look like for me, for example, is on Sunday, I'll throw the Traeger on or smoke a bunch of chicken breast, and then I'll chop it up, not like crazy small pieces. Maybe I'll cut each chicken breast in half. And then I'll put all of that in its own glass container. And then let's say I also want some beef, and I'll do hamburger style ground beef. Again, I could throw it in the Traeger if I want, or I could bake it or saute it, whatever it might be. So then I put those in their own container as well. Throw on the pressure cooker and do a bunch of white rice, and then throw a bunch of potatoes into the oven. And I store those in separate containers. And then I've got the base elements of my plates done. And so what I'll do then is, this is one of the key things you can do, is put your meals together for the next day, the night before. Don't try to create 36 Tupperware containers or whatever and store them in your fridge. That gets ridiculous. Get 3 high quality glass Tupperwares or stainless steel or whatever, and just reuse them every single day. Put all your food into the containers the night before, set it, forget it, automate it, and you'll do wonderful. Just remember, you got to get rid of the all or nothing mindset when it comes to this thing. Because if you went off plan for 3 meals a week, let's say like a whole day, you'd still be at 85% adherence to your nutrition after a year. That means that you were on plan 928 out of 1,092 meals, right? 85% or greater adherence, you're going to get awesome results, because that's a sweet spot consistency. You could probably go up from that. So if you were at 1 meal a week where you just ate whatever you wanted, you'd be at over 95% adherence, which again is amazing. You don't have to be 100% to get crazy, crazy good results. So don't beat yourself up if you go off plan. You can go out to dinner with your wife. You can have a slice of pizza. You can enjoy a birthday party or some ice cream here and there. It's fine. It's crazy, right? It's crazy we can do that and still get results. But you just got to learn how to enjoy food that you like, the really hyper palatable, delicious stuff. Just enjoy it in moderation. Just learn how to do that. It's a valuable skill to develop. View it as a skill. It's not a cheat. It is a treat. And enjoy that in moderation. Okay, so consistency and moderation will always beat shorter intensity durations and then falling off the wagon when it comes to nutrition. Okay, just remember that. Consistency and moderation win, always. So mission movement meals. We've covered quite a bit so far. Drinking from a fire hose. I'm going to summarize. Mission, the 3-minute drill. Movement, 3 miles a day, 7,500 steps, 3 total body sessions a week. Once you're locked in on those things, then start looking at specialization. Meals, 3 meals a day, balanced. You can do 33, 33, 33 on your macronutrients and use a calorie calculator based on your goals, or you can use the hand portion guide that I gave you with 2 palms of protein, 2 cupped hands of carbs, 2 thumbs of fat, and some vegetables mixed in. Okay, remember the practices that I gave you around how to execute on the meals. Okay, so that's a lot of information, I know that, but mission movement meals, if you can lock in on those 3 key frameworks, and apply them, I know you're going to improve your physicality as a father. Absolutely, 100% you will. So which one of those do you think is the lowest hanging fruit for you to use or to implement? Is it establishing a clear mission and starting to do the 3-minute drill? Maybe you need to level up your walking, your steps, your just base activity level. Or maybe you really need to lock in on nutrition, whatever it might be. The cool thing is if you can make these your baseline operation mode, this is just what you do, then pursuing those more specific, challenging goals that you may have when it comes to developing your physicality will be way more within reach than if you try to just jump to this crazy high level of intensity or jump to this crazy high level of adherence. That can work for a time, but what I'm saying is if you want to do this thing for the rest of your life, you want to do it right, that you got to have these foundational things in place. How did I discover them? Through experience myself, because I was in a rut. I was feeling really, really bad about myself, gaining weight, low energy, low focus, low self-esteem, all those kind of things were going on. Struggling with the business, struggling with my motivation, all those kind of things. And I went into a rabbit hole of what can I do to get out of this rut? What can I do to feel better, to get closer with my family, to get leaner, get stronger, get more energy, get more focused, find success in business, find success in my spirituality, all these different areas. What do I need to do to put in place? What can I put in place that's going to help me do that? And that's where these 3 key frameworks came from. Mission, movement, meals. Okay, physicality and fatherhood. I hope that you found this content valuable. If you have, please share it. My commitment is to continually publish and share my own insights on what I'm going through, what I'm learning, and what I'm developing when it comes to Full Strength Father. And my hope is that we can build a community of like-minded men who are pushing in these areas of mentality, physicality, and spirituality, pushing to be better in those areas. And that community is going to be a powerhouse community to impact our own families and the families around us and our communities. So thank you for spending some time with me today. With that, I will see you or hear from you or spend some time with you in the next episode. Can't believe we're already on episode 13. And until then, live full strength or die. Talk soon.